Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I'm back to share an idea I have for creating a project case for your sewing projects, as well as holding items like your fabric scissors, your embroidery scissors, a little notebook, your friction marker, etc. So what I'm going to be using is this table runner that I picked up the other day at the op shop. So it's a quilted table runner in these beautiful greeny bluey colours. It's got a binding around the outside and it's quite a decent length. So what I'm planning to do is to make it into an envelope. So let me just fold it and show you how I am planning to do it. So I'm planning to take, and I'll just stand up so I can see what you can see, to fold it up so it's got sort of the top three bits to there, and then with the bottom section of it, it's going to have a double fold up to here. So I'm going to sort of overlap these two green bits so they sort of meld into one. And that will be about the perfect size for me to put my scissors into. And then on the front, I've already started to do some work to put my name couched down, and I just where I needed to popped out and in and out of the fabric to do like the French knots for the eye. The great thing about this quilted fabric is that I was able to just work on the upper layer because it's sort of got padding between it. I was able to just pass the needle basically between this top layer of fabric and within the padding without actually popping out on the other side. So that is quite good. And then I've also started to do some stitching, over stitching of the leaves down here just to create a bit of extra detail, and we can probably do one of those together. And so what I'm thinking I'm going to do is, before I start to sort of stitch the sides together, I will put some stitches in either side to make the little pocket to hold these scissors in place. And I'm thinking I will also create a little place for these scissors, and perhaps I will use one of these little buttons that I actually got from the op shop just today. So you won't actually probably see the video where I share my Thrifty Thursday of these finds until another time, but I will just put this little button here, I think, because then I can just sort of clip the scissors around it and they can just sit out from the pocket. And then I can have a place that I can just slide in things like the book, etc. So I'll probably just have then an open pocket over this side. So the two scissor spots, and then things like my friction marker can just probably clip in over the pocket like this. The other thing I'm thinking is that I will leave, I'll probably sew all of this side down, just making sure you can see that. But then I'm thinking I'll leave the pocket open at this side so that I can slide in my knitting needle. Now you might think, why do you just have a single wooden knitting needle? But I use this when I'm loosening up my Epiflex hexagon templates and other templates. And so I want to be able to have a place that I can just easily have that safely sitting, and so I'm thinking that can just slide into the bottom of this pocket if I leave it open at this end. And I'm thinking that could also be a place where I could, for example, put some rolls of bigger fabric if I needed to pop something else in there. So it will be a little sort of like a side pocket. But otherwise it will close down like that, and then I'll probably put, this is another little button I got, a little fleur-de-lis button I got from the op shop today as well, and I can put that on and probably use a piece of twine to just have a little wrap around, so I can probably attach that sort of there. I'll show you how I did this one here, which has chain stitch down the middle. It then has little longer stitches, and then just has a back stitch around the outside. So I might show you, I think I'll put one here. I don't want them to be perfectly sort of symmetrical, so I'll grab grab my thread. I think this was the thread I used. Let's just have a look. Yep, that's the one. So let's just do a bit of stitching. So I might use this swat needle. So I hope you're all having a great day or a great evening. So I'm just popping up again to check that I'm staying on camera. So I'm just going to do a knot in the end, slide the knot down the thread. And then I'm going to put my hand underneath and we'll start by doing the chain stitch. So I'll just do a very small little stitch actually at the top here, which will get hidden then under the first chain stitch. So I'm just taking a tiny little bit of fabric. I'll cut my extra bit of tail off, just leave the little knot there. And then we can start the process of doing our chain stitch. So I'm just passing my needle, and let me make sure I'm on camera, yep. Just passing my needle through the top layer of fabric, keeping my hand underneath on the back, so I would feel if I was going to be sort of coming through the fabric, because you just want to be picking up the top layer of fabric and a little bit of the stuffing, which means you won't get stitches on the inside. So with chain stitch, we're just picking up the previous loop and then passing our needle forward with the thread under the tip of the needle so that we get a loop as we do it. So again, popping our needle in, passing it forward, and then pulling to get our loop. Helps if you hold with your other hand. And so with the letters that I couched down, I've recently done a video on various couching techniques. So if you haven't done couching of letters before, I did a similar sort of running style of lettering in one of the videos as well, if you want to check that out. So as I mentioned, I think actually you won't have seen that video yet because it's my Thrifty Thursday video that I've made for a week henceforth. It was a grayer day today. We've had a little bit of drizzly rain here in Bright. But then it got sunshine as we walked into town along the river before, but then it started raining just as we got home. So we had some hot cups of tea and a little baked treat from the bakery. So that was nice. And Travis is having a nice big relax. I'd mentioned to the ladies that joined for the chat when my Stitch Along videos premiere last night, poor Travis got so exhausted yesterday, so I think it's good that he's having a rest today. He ended up video bombing my video that we'll be showing this Thursday for Thrifty Thursday with his head laying down on the table on top of my thrifty finds. So I've finished doing my chain stitch up here, so I'll finish off just by putting a final little stitch over the end of the loop to hold that in place. And then I'm going to pass my needle down, again passing it just picking up the top layer of fabric but not coming through at all to the back. And I'm going to take it down to where I want to put my first little leaf marking in. And I find it's easiest when I'm doing this to turn it sort of around and then be angling it back in the direction. So I want to then look for where's the next point that I want to put a little leaf marking in, which will be over here. So I just angle my thread back, try not to catch. So back over here. And then I'm going to angle down to the next place I want to put one in. So pop my needle out there. So yeah, if you can find yourself one of these little sort of padded table runners, or you could even use part of a quilt. It's just great because the edges are already finished on this, so I don't have to worry about doing any of that. I'm just repurposing someone else's beautiful work that otherwise wouldn't have had another life. So it's nice to give life to someone's handmade work. It's very nice indeed. Okay, so I'll pass this down to here, pop the needle out. And then pop out to here and bring the needle back to here. So I'm just following where those dark markings on the fabric are. Alex is doing a wash of his puffer jacket. We don't have a dryer at home, but the place we're staying has a dryer, so he thought he'd give it a clean. So he just went into town and got some tennis balls, which apparently you need if you're going to re-fluff up the puffer jacket when you pop it in the dryer. It's a good day for crafting for me, and for him to do that, because he's been meaning to go to a laundromat and use one of the big dryers there, but there's a good dryer here. Travis was also very happy because when I went to the op shop today and got some of those buttons and other bits I was showing you. I got him a soft toy that looked brand new, but I've given it a good wash, and it's looks like a little sort of husky dog. Although he has actually managed to remove the ear off. He got a bit excited when he got it and thought he'd give it a bit of extra love. Okay, and then angling out, and then we've just got one more of the spines of the leaf to do. So I think, yeah, the fabric of this is so pretty that I didn't want to do too much work on it, but I thought it might be nice just on this cover area, one, to have my name. So if I'm at a stitchery retreat, which I do have booked for next year, then people will know whose bag it is, and if I happen to leave it laying around, someone will return it to me. And so now I'm going to take the needle out to the edge, and we will do a back stitch around the edge. So with the back stitch, I am going to go forward to make my first stitch. Then I'm going to angle my needle out at a further step along, and then I'll take my needle back to where I was. And again, I'm just working on the surface of the fabric, so we're not going at all through to the back of the fabric. So we're just following around the outline and just doing a step forward, and then taking it another step forward. And so now I'm just continuing to take the needle beyond where the thread is. So we get a back stitch and then we go forward. So this is just a Finca number 12. These are all vintage crochet or perle threads, so don't know if they're exactly as they would be if you bought them today. Most of my threads, actually, even my embroidery flosses and stuff, most of them are second hand. The only ones are my Razzle Dazzle. I bought those new. So now we'll go around the curve around here, pop the needle out, and then we'll come around here. And I do want to get some more of the Razzle threads. So I've got the variegated ones. These are the Sue Spargo Razzle threads, but she's also got a non-variegated ones, which I thought would be fun to add to my collection, because I've been using the variegated ones in lots of my stitch along pieces. Sending some special thoughts out to Kimberly or Kim, who's part of our little stitch along community. So just letting you know, Kim, that you're most definitely in my thoughts, and I know in our little community's thoughts at the moment too. Okay, so we're almost to the end, just doing those stitches. So you almost sort of leapfrog ahead to then do the next stitch. Okay, so now we're at the end. I'll probably just come over and I might just put a little stitch in where the other knot was, which will just hold it as well. Just put another one over the top there. Hold that one over that side, and we will then put a knot in. Okay, so I think we can probably, because I'll be able to come back and finish doing the stitching on these other ones. Just to show you, I just used long stitches all the way around that. So just the sort of the back stitch around the outside and the long stitches up from the core. This one I did a chain stitch around the outside and then the longer stitches there. This one I used a wool for from this wool collection, and this one I just used a thick perle thread. And for this writing, I used, can I see it? Yes, this one over here, which is a sort of a greeny bluey colour, so I thought it combined nicely there. So let's start by making the spot that will be for our scissors. I'll take my knitting needle out and we will make a spot for this. So I think I'll probably just, put some stitches either side so it just holds this pretty securely, because I think then once the flap is down, that will be enough to hold those scissors in place. I could always also add a little tie with thread if I needed to hold it more securely in place. So just thinking what sort of thread I want to use. I want it to be a nice and strong one, and I am wondering maybe I will use this one, and then I could do some French knots or maybe some crosses down either side. Let's have a look. This one already has a knot in the end. I'll need one of my big needles for that because it's quite thick. I think Linda once called this one my javelin or my sword. I'm not sure, I can't remember. So I'll get rid of that needle. So I'm pretty happy with the positioning of that, I think. And so I'll just put a stitch in about here. So I've got a knot in the back of my, so I've just got a knot there. And then what do I want to do? Do I want to do some crosses, or do I just want to do, maybe I'll just do some French knots. Just a single French knot is probably fine. And then I'll just go down further below. Yeah, the French knots will look nice. They'll look like little sort of buds or something. because it's quite thick thread, it does take a little bit to pull it through. Yeah, I think that will be fine. Make sure you can see. Yes, hopefully you can see. I know it's a little bit above, but I just had to keep it, otherwise it would be too close up and you wouldn't be able to see the whole piece. And so with the French knots, I'm not going back through exactly the same hole, otherwise you risk that you might pull your knot through, although probably not with this sort of thicker thread. 3 be enough? Let's have a look. Probably would be okay, because it really does just have to hold them there, because I'll then be putting some stitching down this side. Maybe I think I'll go do 5 down here just to keep it. Really have to wobble the needle as it comes through just to pull it through. Okay. I think I've kept mostly straight there. Oops. Okay, so there's that side of it done. And then I guess I'll put the next one about over here. Still want it to sit flat like that. I might put a pin in as well just to hold it over this side. Just having a look, trying to get it straight. Try not to put my head under the camera. You don't need that. Let's just get this a bit straighter. Hopefully that will hold that there. Okay, and so maybe then I'll just mark where I want my little stitches using my friction marker. So if I put them about there, I think that should be fine. Let's put one there. Probably can't see them where I'm drawing them here. 3, 4, 5, something like that. So I guess I need to come across. I'll tie it off there so I'm not passing and having something that will catch. Another tie in just to keep it nice and secure, although the French knots usually hold pretty securely as well. And then we'll just put another knot in the end. Oops. So where did I have my dots drawn? See, I've almost lost where they were. They were about there, weren't they? So I've got one about there. Oops, need to come through right from the back. I was almost just going to come through from the pocket spot, but no. Need to pop through about there, I think. Let's just check that the scissors will still sit comfortably if that's like that. I think so. So we'll do our next French knot into here, pull it through, and then we'll do our next French knot above here. So let me know in the comments if you look for things at op shops where other people have done handicrafts and look at how you can give them new life. I was watching Annie Claxton, Arty Farty Annie's wonderful video sharing Mrs. or Ms. Cheatham's threads that she'd got a box of amazing vintage antique threads off eBay, and she now researched the history of the owner of them, which is pretty amazing. So, okay, take this one through. And I'll put one more in. Probably haven't spaced those quite evenly, but never mind. That's Travis, you can hear trotting off. I think he and Alex are going to go off for a bit of a wander. The sun's come out again. So there we go. That's a nice little place to keep my scissors in, I think. I think that's going to work very well. So I'll tie a knot at the back again. A second knot in. Cut the thread. Okay, so now we've got that pocket in place. That was the main one to get done. Whether I want to now also make a little pocket, well, not a pocket, but probably, I think if I just put a little button here, then these scissors can just clip around. Although it might be helpful, actually, probably will help to put, yeah, some little French knots either side as well. So, thinking as I go here, that's what I always find happens. I'm stitching and thinking. So let's just tie another knot. We'll use this little bit of thread. Take the scissors out. I wonder actually, maybe I can take advantage of that little set of French knots on that side. Just re-straightening it a bit. Although I probably do want these a little bit further along, so no, maybe I do need to do my own set of little French knots here. Maybe do 3 down there and 3 down here, perhaps. You can barely see those ones in the dark spot. Okay. So have we got that about even along the top? Yep. So again, I'm just coming through from the back here so that I get my little pocket created. And we'll do our French knot. Holding the thread as you pull your French knot through. And then another little French knot. Probably don't need all that tail there either, so I'll cut that off. And then our third little French knot down here. Let's just, don't know if I've gone, I think that's okay. Just want to try and keep it a bit more even. I might have just put that in. I don't think that will be a problem. Doesn't have to be precision, Christine. Okay, so I've got my 3 French knots there. I think I will just tie that off though, so I don't have long threads at the back. Tie that off there. Again, I might just bring it across, just having a look. Yeah, I think that's okay. Get it stretched out, and we had, let's just see where we need to, I want it to sit down to there. I think I'll start my first one, maybe I'll do it over here. Oops, maybe there and there. I think I might need a slightly longer bit of thread, so I'll just cut myself another piece. And then just got to tie a knot on the end. Again, I'll get rid of that longer tail because we don't need that. And then we'll pop up for our next little French knot, about there. And then we'll put our third French knot in about here. Okay, let's just check how that looks. There we go, great. And yeah, I think we did want to put one of these in. Maybe we can do that while we've got the thread. So I can pass the thread underneath. Now where do I want to be popping out? Pop out about here. And then let's see if we can pop a little button here, which we can then close the scissors around to hold them in place. So I will just bring my needle back through the same hole. Sorry, probably going off camera here. Just trying to get my needle back through. through the button. And then back into the fabric. And so this is one of those times having a shank button is good because you want to have it sort of sitting above the surface so that you've got something kind of to clip around, if that makes sense. You'll see in a moment. And then let's have a look how it works. So take that there. Once it's in the pocket, clip it around. And then, even if it's hanging upside down or moving around, our little scissors aren't going to fall out. So that's kind of handy. That is handy indeed. So we've now done our stitching to hold our little scissor pocket in place there and there. But I'll take those out for now. So to take these out, open them up and do that. And now we'll want to stitch down the sides. But as I mentioned, I don't want to close this up because I want to keep that as a little place. And I'll probably, I think, eventually put a little stitch in place to have the place to put my knitting needle in. So let's just have a think about that. I think I could do just a little French knot here probably. So we might do that with whatever thread we're going to use around the outside of it. So I wonder if I want to use a thread like this. I think so. I've got plenty of it. So we might thread up with this one. Knot. Okay. So let us work out exactly how it's going to fold. I think I'll probably just take it a smidge further up, which I think will work well enough. Just checking how these little bits are on this side. Just need to get them sort of straight before you start stitching them down. Just line them up across here as well. I think that will work pretty well as a, it's nice, you've got those nice little bits of lines. That's Travis having a big drink after his walk. Alex and him just got back. Sounds like he's having a swim, but no, he's actually just drinking in true Travis style. Now he's going to come over and try and have a hello with me. Likes to wipe his mouth on me sometimes after he's had a big drink. I think it's his little joke. It's a little bit of amusement. So I'll put a little stitch through, I think from here, to create the little pouchy spot where I can have my knitting needle. So just pop that through there. And we'll pop through here. Might just put a second one in, I think, just to be sure. Okay. Might put a third in just because I like things in threes when I'm doing my stitching. Don't know why, but I do. As you can see, the weight of your thread affects the size of your French knots. These are much larger than with this thread, which is a a much narrower gauge thread. Okay, just trying to make sure it's staying straight at that side. So we've done that little pocket there for the knitting needle. I think that will be fine. So I might just tie that off. And I can always add more stitches later if it needs to be a bit tighter. Sounds like there's percussion coming from the laundry. Alex has put his jacket in with the tennis balls and they're bouncing around in the dryer. Sounds like a sort of a drum beat. Okay. So next decision is what we want to do in terms of the stitch to sew up the edge. But we're not going to sew this edge up here. We're going to leave this little area here. As I said, I could put a little roll of fabric or something in there, or something else long like a ruler or something could be handy to pop in there. But I will sew the lower layer of it, as well as this layer of pocket, and then on this side I'll sew it fully up. Then I think we might use a German knotted, like it's the blanket stitch, but German knotted blanket stitch I think it's called. But I'll show you what I mean. So I might start by popping out here, I think, like that, and then just put another stitch in here, and then we'll start the blanket stitch. And so with German knotted blanket stitch, or if I haven't got the title right, I'll include a link in the description anyway so you can see the video. You do 2 blanket stitches closer together, and then you pass your needle back through them. And then you get that little V shape instead. Let me just make sure I'm on camera, and I'll bring it up a bit closer so you can see. And then you just come along and space it out again in a more sort of normal way then for your next one, and then do one closer to that again, always with the thread under the needle so you get your little blanket stitch, and then you pass your needle back through your 2 blanket stitches that you've put close together like that, pull it through, and you get your nice little V shape. So then you come along again, doing the 2 stitches closer together, and then passing your needle back to get your little V. Okay, I don't know if I need to bring you down. I might just bring you a bit closer so you can see as I'm working on this one. I might just make them a little bit bigger. So you just want to be capturing your various layers of fabric, keeping the thread under the tip of the needle. Then you pass your needle back through the 2 stitches, blanket stitches, and you get that nice little V shape. further along. So blanket, stitch is a really great edging stitch, and this is just a nice decorative, different version of it. So hopefully this will give you an idea of how you can repurpose different things you might find in your thrift stores or things you might find in your cupboards that you no longer, they might not suit the decor of your house, but they might suit a perfect project envelope or project pouch, which is great when you're traveling, or even just great to keep your projects stored or in an orderly fashion at home. To here. Sorry, apologies if you couldn't see for a moment. I'll just move it up a bit closer. Okay, and so here I want to leave the top pouch open, so I think I'll just do a stitch. Actually, I can do one stitch just up the top here to bring all the layers together. So doing a blanket stitch through all the layers here, and then doing a second blanket stitch through all the layers here. Turning it into our little German knotted stitch here, and then I'll continue along down here, and in fact I'm actually going to have two little pockets where I could keep a ruler in there, and then I can actually keep some other things in here, because I've actually got two pockets, and then this bottom one I do want to sew down because that will be the pocket, the larger pocket. I hadn't actually thought about that. So I'm now just going to be stitching the bottom two layers and using blanket stitch again for that. But I think I might, because it's going to be mostly, I'll still do my knotted blanket stitch in case it is at all visible. But it probably won't be that visible. So again, just passing the needle back through the stitches, trying not to stab yourself is always good. And we'll go around like that. When we were walking down along the river before, saw people fishing for trout, I think, which I know are in the river because last summer Travis actually got a trout in his mouth. There was one that was a bit dopey. I think it had just gone over the sort of the rapids, the rocks and the water, and I think it might have had a little bump to its head or something. And yeah, Travis momentarily picked it up with his mouth, which was quite amazing. So I keep asking him, can you see the fish? But he just loved, even today when it was cold, he still went in for a dip. Every day he's been here, he has had at least one swim, or in many cases multiple swims in the river. Okay. So we'll just keep doing this till we get to the bottom, and then it's going to be the same process on the other side, except going through all of, oops, I didn't catch that blanket stitch. If you don't catch a blanket stitch, you just pop back up through it like that, and you'll catch it then in that time, but you always keep the thread under the tip of the needle, and that way you'll get your blanket stitch done, like that. So I hope you're having a nice stitchy, relaxing, crafty day, or a bit of crafty time, downtime, watching some videos. It's definitely been nice to be on holidays and just switch the brain off a bit. Just have a slower pace to the days. Oops. Thread's got a bit twisty. Don't want that bit of thread under the needle, just that bit of thread. Then I think that will be enough down here. Sort of back in. So if you can see, that's given us a really nice little edging down the side that will hold it nice and secure. So that means that inner pocket here, but then we do have a place where we can slide in, for example, a ruler, or in this case some threads in there, and even something like my little book could sit in there, and then have that available. And then over the top I've got a place for scissors and a place for my other scissors in here, and then a place to hold them securely by clipping them around a little button. And then on the other side, all I'm going to do is, because I want all of the pockets closed on this side, I'm just going to sew with that same German knotted stitch right down this edge here. And then that is, if you want to kind of finish it at that point, we also then just need to put on a little button or something down here to be our closing clasp, and put that about there. So the knot will just be kind of hidden underneath the button, but I'll cut the little taily bit off. There we are, and I'll then just stitch the button on. So maybe I'll use this darker green. I think that might go better even. Just need to find the tail of that now. There's one of the tails. So I will just thread this. Let's just fold this in half and get that approximate mark where, oops, did I actually, it's about there. I'll actually put a tie on the surface, I think. Let's just pull one end through. Pull one end like that, and then I can actually just tie a knot here. Tie it a second time, which will just anchor this to the, I might just do 3 knots just to be sure. And then I think I'll put, I'll just trim these so they're equal. And then I might just put a knot in the end as well, to just hold these nice and secure. Sorry, I might have come in too close, so I might have been going off camera for a moment there. Let's put a nice little knot there. I'll just trim that knot down. and then that will be our little wrappy securing point. So like that, it won't open up and it will stay secure. So here is the finished project pouch, also holding my key materials in it as well. So I've done some further stitching all around all of the borders because I thought that would add some lovely interest and just sort of integrate in the green elements. So I just continued to use the same Perle cotton for that, which is I think a number 8. So let's open up the pouch and I'll show you how it is all working. So as you can see, it's the perfect place to clip in my little friction marker. You can even use it as a place to keep your needles when you're working away on your pieces, so you can just sort of put them in there if you want to. I'll just move that over so I don't stab myself with it. I've got my little notebook, my little patchwork notebook. And then I've got my scissors. So these ones, won't slip out because they're around the little button, but they're quite easy to get out. And then I've got these scissors to get out from here. And then I've also got my little spot, and I did some extra stitches to hold this nice and firm so it doesn't move around, and it also can't go all the way in, so that it's easy to pull out my little knitting needle, which I use for unanchoring my little hexies when I make my hexie flowers. So I mentioned that I did some extra stitching to hold the scissors in place. Originally I was going to leave it open down here, but I just didn't want to have the risk of these scissors sort of getting out. I don't think they would have, but I just ended up doing my little German knotted stitch so that it anchored all the way down on the lower pocket, which was this pocket here. I've still left this pocket nice and open, so that's still a good place that I can put a ruler in, or other fabric, or other things, like even my little book would fit in there as well. That's a handy little pocket. And I then continued to do the German knotted stitch all the way around all of the edges. I could even do it on the inside of the top of the piece, but at this stage I'm quite happy having it just there. So that is the finished piece with the couch down lettering for my name and the embroidery on the leaves. I can continue to do other embroidery. The great thing, as I said in the earlier part of this video, is because it's padded, I can just do the stitching just into the upper layer of the fabric. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hope it's given you some ideas. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more of these sorts of videos, feel free to subscribe and hit the little button, the little bell button to be notified. And yeah, leave a comment, leave a like. Really appreciate getting your feedback. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care. Bye.